The world is yours.
That power is getting ready to be put back in us. For those who believe and have ears, that power that Yahweh Shai had on the earth, we're going to get that and more. And we're going to get those heavenly bodies, man. See, Yahweh Shai died on the cross and went through all that he went through so he can go back on the right-hand side and be glorified. We're fighting and making our bodies a living sacrifice so that we can eventually be back glorified with him as well as we were before the foundation of the earth.
Psalm 110. The Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. The Lord shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thine enemies. Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power. In the beauties of holiness from the womb of the morning, thou hast the dew of thy youth. The Lord hath sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. The Lord at thy right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge among the heathen. He shall fill the places with the dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries. He shall drink of the brook in the way. Therefore shall he lift up the head.
That power is getting ready to be put back in us. For those who believe and have ears, that power that Yahweh Shai had on the earth, we're going to get that and more. And we're going to get those heavenly bodies, man. See, Yahweh Shai died on the cross and went through all that he went through so he can go back on the right-hand side and be glorified. We're fighting and making our bodies a living sacrifice so that we can eventually be back glorified with him as well as we were before the foundation of the earth.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS, whom rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessing, salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect of believers and listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And what I want to get into tonight, all right, dealing with this documentary I seen, in this article, pretty much you start with the article first. All right, I'm sure you brothers, you sisters probably have seen, about okay, the nigga woman, being part owner, of the Denver Broncos. There's something that they got to make it. Okay, and it just made me research, the roles of women, in ancient Egypt. Okay, and we were going to find there's a lot of parallels, of ancient Egypt. Okay, that exist, all right, within this society of America. Okay, if a brother can post it for me real quick. That's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1. Because America, all right, is spiritual Egypt, and it's gonna show. Ecclesiastes. Yeah, Ecclesiastes 1:9. And we can put Deuteronomy 28 and 68. you know, and we just set the tempo, you know, with those two, okay, as I get ready to cue this article up. All right, this is Ecclesiastes 1:9. It says, the thing that have been, it is that which shall be. Okay, this from the brother Alma 1. And it says, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing, all right, under the sun. Okay, there is no new thing under the sun. Okay, just like there's no new spirit under the sun through reincarnation. Even these different kingdoms, you know, are reincarnated. Okay, the spirit of ancient kingdoms, okay, is still relevant today. You know, and America is one big conglomerate of all the major empires that ever ruled. You know, it comes in the spirit of Assyria. You know, when you go to the Syrian military prowess, okay, the Romans, you know, with their decadence and you know the shopping malls and the you know, and the games, okay, it comes in the spirit of ancient Babylon, okay, through what is customs, you know, the holidays that they, you know, celebrate, Egypt, okay, the way society is structured. So America is pretty much, you know, all these ancient, you know, wicked empires, okay, rolled in one. And that's why it's gonna get the worst judgment. You see, when you go to there's a brother Bayan Yashala, this is Deuteronomy 28:68. It says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Okay. And this is one of the first scriptures, you know, we pretty much learn when we come into the ministry. You know, this is like the introduction, all right, of the ministry, man. Okay, because that's a great token of who we are. But the thing that has to be broken down is when it says into Egypt again with ships. Okay, and Egypt just means what? Bondage. Okay, so it wasn't talking about physical Egypt, but we will be in bondage in spiritual Egypt. Okay, and we will get there by ships through the transatlantic. It says, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bond men and bond women, and no man shall buy you. Okay, and no man shall buy you. You see, and it's going into that transatlantic slave trade, man. Okay, where the bulk of our people ended up in America, which is what? Spiritual Egypt. Okay, now we're going to get it, but first let's get this. I want to get this article. All right, and that's one of the mysteries of the scriptures, understanding spiritual Egypt, which is America. Okay, you got people that try to debunk the truth and try to make it seem like it's literal Egypt, and you know, no, it's spiritual Egypt. There's no account of Israel as a nation going back into physical Egypt, all right, under hardcore bondage, man. Okay, now you get this article here. All right, and as you can see, I think this came out last week sometime. All right, so it says Melody Hobson to become first black female NFL owner, all right, with Broncos deal. Okay, now you understand the team that she's with, all right, some high level Edomites, man. Okay, because the one that's actually buying the team is one of the Waltons, okay, from the Walmart empire. Okay, and then she's the wife of Star Wars director George Lucas. Okay, so you know she's into some type of high level. She done did all type of rituals. Okay, there's no telling what she done, man. Okay, but see, each of these out, and you know, Eve, look at this. Okay, this is another nigga woman video. But, you know, they can have it, cool. You know, I won't give a damn. She owned the whole NFL. Okay, it's not going to stop the destruction. All right, now this is her here. Okay, Melody Hobson. All right, so you read into the article, and they start off with the black, all right, Queen of Heaven worship. Okay, hold on, now it's tripping. All right, it says black women have been out here getting it since the dawn of time, and even during the rough patch of slavery, showed a resilience that speaks to the innate strength from birth. Okay, the praise and the worship of the black woman. Okay, the praise and worship of Eve, and this is part of the deal with the serpent. Okay, that Eve will have these high positions. Okay, she'll be over, you know, men. She'll be over establishments. Okay, because you look at this, you know, look at this Eve. She's, you know, she's over everything. All right, there's some Eve portion with the serpent. Okay, it says one of those lovely ladies currently doing the damn thing is Melanie Hobson. It must be a nigga woman who wrote this. Okay, it says president of Ariel Investment, Starbucks chairwoman, and soon to be Broncos co-owner, following a record-breaking buyout by multi-billionaire Rob Walton. Okay, so is that Edomite Rob Walton from, you know, the Walton dynasty that's buying it? Okay, but Eve is in on it, man. Okay, Eve is everywhere in this man's kingdom, man. Okay, Eve flying a fighter jet, vice president, CEO of Xerox. Okay, you got you know, what's the little black chick, the little dark skin on Biden cabinet? She's something, you know. But this is Eve peeking out before the destruction, man. Okay, you see Eve in all these high places. All right, and we're gonna tie it back to ancient Egypt. It says Hobson, now the first black woman to have equity in the NFL, gains the title due to her stake in Walter Penner ownership groups that's spearheading the Broncos deal. Walton mentions Hobson specifically in the official press statement, so the serpent made mention of her. All right, speaking of being excited to have her as an addition to the team. Beyond her role at Ariel, Melody is an influential leader in corporate and civic organizations across the nation. This announcement reads, going to add, Melody currently serves as chair of the board of Starbucks Corporation and is also the director of J.P. Morgan Chase. God damn. Eve everything, man. Hey, well, Eve can't say she never got a chance to rule, man. Okay? She can never say that. It says, we know she will bring her strategic acumen and leadership perspective to our team. The percentage amounts and actual level of ownership are still under wraps, but we could only imagine that any portion pays out nicely when a handful of billions are concerned. It says the conversation, now listen to this, the conversation surrounding black ownership in the NFL is one that's been discussed on various levels, with everyone from Snoop Dogg having an opinion to black moguls like Byron Allen attempted to buy the team himself. And yes, Kanye West tried to gather and conquer by buying the Broncos alongside Antonio Brown, which that was super stupid, Kanye. Okay, you went and got Antonio Brown, nigga. Okay, that was super stupid. All right. It says in other Donda Sports affiliates, it says in the end, Rob Walton, the Edomite, okay, put down the winning bid at a whopping 4.65 billion, the largest sale for a North American sports franchise. All right, the Edomite came, all right, scooted all you niggas out the way, okay, and made way for the one and only, okay, and made way for the one and only. Let's see, can I close this? This thing. Oh, this thing was so bad. It's all good. All right. And made way for the one and only. All right. Bought the teams, scooted you niggas out the way. All right. And who and who emerges through the smoke? Eve. You know? So I want to get this video. I want to get this video. Let me share this again. Let me cue this up. And Eve is, talented, but she's just on the dark side. The majority of them on the dark side. Eve is talented, okay, because a woman, is supposed to excel in the administration, well, her talent, all right, is not towards a nation, it's toward this society, man, which, it's supposed to be like that, it's nothing to be ruffled over. It is what it is, all these L's finna go out. Let these, let them get their wins. Brothers, don't be frustrated. You see things like that. Eve's posting right now. She made that pact. All right, as Apostle Ariam Live says, Eve made that Gardenian pact. That pact in the garden. Okay, that pact between her and the serpent. So she's supposed to be winning. But there's major L coming. Hold on.
Well, the cause of feminism might seem like a recent phenomenon. There were times in history where women enjoyed almost equal rights to men.
Let me share this real quick.
While the cause of feminism might seem like a recent phenomenon, there were times in history where women enjoyed almost equal rights to men. Ancient Egypt was one such era. From the importance of alcohol to matters of makeup, here's what life was like for women in ancient Egypt. The number of rights women in ancient Egypt had is impressive. According to Ancient History Encyclopedia,
Yeah, now just for truth's sake, Esau, he used Edomites. He portrayed himself as the original Egyptians. Okay, but we know the original Egyptians, okay, come from Ham. Mizraim, all right, were very dark-skinned people, okay? So disregard the images for the most part, and just listen to the customs and how similar they are, and tell me what they remind you of.
In ancient Egypt, women could, quote, own land, initiate divorce, own and operate their own business. They could also hold many kinds of jobs outside the home. They could also own property. While the cause of feminism might seem like a recent phenomenon, there were times in history where women enjoyed almost equal rights to men. Ancient Egypt was one such era. From the importance of alcohol to matters of makeup, here's what life was like for women in ancient Egypt. The number of rights women in ancient Egypt had is impressive. According to Ancient History Encyclopedia, in ancient Egypt, women could, quote, own land, initiate divorce, own and operate their own business. They could also hold many kinds of jobs outside the home. They could also own property and, quote, enter into contracts with men, have abortions, and dispose of their own property as they saw fit. Ancient Pages adds that they could get drunk, make legally binding wills, and receive both the same pay as men for the same work and the same punishments for the same crimes. It was a level of personal and sexual freedom that no other ancient civilization gave women, and this standard wasn't even common in the modern times until recently. When the ancient Greek historian Herodotus visited Egypt, he was shocked at how women behaved. This made sense, since he came from a place where men didn't even like women going outside. While women in ancient Egypt did sometimes have authority over men, that wasn't considered ideal. Men were usually in charge. There were positions women couldn't hold, usually those of the most important government officials. And in 3,000 years, ancient Egypt only managed to have 7 female rulers. Still, the US hasn't managed one woman president yet. Girls usually got married right after they hit puberty, which at the time was generally about 13 years old. It also wasn't uncommon for teen girls to marry much older men. Still, Ancient History Encyclopedias.
So you heard that. Okay. Let's rewind it, because everybody went berserk when we brought out, the customs of the East, according to the Bible. Scriptures talk about the flower of her age. Okay. Women, marrying much older men. Everybody went ballistic. Well, all you Egyptologists, nigga, that was going crazy, and because they was at the spearhead of that whole rapist and pedophile thing. Well, what did it say about Egyptian custom, man? Okay, which it wasn't off. Okay, well, they just made it seem like it was unheard of, man. Okay.
Girls usually got married right after they hit puberty, which at the time was generally about 13 years old. It also wasn't uncommon for teen girls to marry much older men. Still, Ancient History Encyclopedia says it was understood that men were the head of the household and had the final word. However, ancient Egyptian fathers would give marriage advice to their sons that included, do not control your wife in her house, do not to snap at her, recognize her skill, enjoy her company, and desist from strife at home. Still, wives had certain expectations on them, like having lots of children, and if they committed adultery, they could be killed. But if they didn't like their husband, divorce was simple. A woman just had to say she wanted one. She didn't even need a reason, such as infidelity on her husband's part. And in the event of a divorce, she got custody of any children. While women may have been equal,
it's free. Don't tell anybody, it's free.
Again, your first bottle is customized and free.
You can get your first
equal to their husbands, the job of taking care of the house still fell to them. Rich women might have servants or slaves, and many women also had jobs outside the home, but how well their house was kept was a woman's responsibility. In a time before alarm clocks, a woman had to wake her whole family up so they could go to work or school. Then she had to take care of the family altar. Every house had one, and keeping the gods happy was the woman's job. She then had to cook breakfast, do the dishes, haul the daily water from the well, do all the childcare, and take care of any elderly relatives. She also had to feed, water, and generally take care of any animals the family owned. She had to make lunch, do some weaving and sewing, do laundry, bake bread, brew beer, make dinner, serve dinner, clean up dinner, put everyone to bed, and do it all again the next day.
Now that that barely exists now. You know, that you can scratch this segment out of it. You know, dealing with the modern woman. Okay, they don't do a tenth of that for the most part. Okay.
And do it all again the next day. Some tasks were extra essential. The ancient Egyptians were neat freaks, meaning the house needed to be spotless so it looked nice, but also to keep pests away. Tending the garden was also important, since it was the source of most of the family's food. Women could be doctors as well, and the female physician Pessehet even taught male students in a medical school. Male patients would also see lady doctors with no issue. There were female dentists, female seers who interpreted dreams and omens for people, and women who ran textile manufacturing businesses. There are even paintings of these women supervising their workers. Ladies who had a talent for performing could become musicians, singers, and dancers, entertaining privately and in public temple events. Girls could become servants as teenagers and rise up the ranks. The top position was household manager, basically running everything for a rich woman who didn't want to do it herself. Beer was vital to ancient Egyptian existence, and the brewing of beer was dominated by women. The story goes that beer had been given to humanity by the god Osiris, and breweries were watched over by the goddess Tenenet. Another story said that when the goddess Sekhmet decided to destroy humanity, she was tricked into getting drunk on beer, passed out, and forgot about it. Ancient Egypt Online says everyone drank beer, including children. Beer was not seen so much as a fun drink, but a nutritious food staple. Laborers were often paid partly in beer, including the ones working on the pyramids, who got a daily ration of 1 1/3 gallons each. When experts at the British Museum recreated ancient Egyptian beer, they were surprised to find it was, quote, absolutely delicious. There's evidence that definitely in early Egyptian history, and probably for most of history, breweries were run by women. They made huge quantities of booze, which meant that they could make a lot of money, and since beer was so vital and ubiquitous, it was an important, honorable profession. Slavery was a complicated institution in ancient Egypt. There were different levels of servitude, and it's often hard for experts to distinguish between them. Servants were a thing, but so were slaves, with no distinct dividing line. But a slave station was always passed down to offspring through the mother's side, regardless of who your father was. Sometimes men found themselves in debt, and they would offer family members, usually women, as collateral. Those women would remain slaves until the debt was repaid. But slaves could own property and negotiate transactions. There's a record of 2 slave women who gave their masters some of their own land in exchange for goods. While some slaves became almost members of the family, others were freed. One way of finding freedom was by being purified and going to work in a temple, and it turns out King Tut actually purified some slave women who worked in his palace.
You do that for me. Anything, my desert flower.
According to ancient Egyptian sexuality, people back then weren't hung up on sex. Even their gods and goddesses were always getting up to filthy stuff. Indeed, with the exception of adultery, which was a serious no-no, ancient Egyptians seem to have been totally cool with women doing whatever. There was no ancient Egyptian word for virgin, possibly meaning that it didn't matter. There was definitely no guilt attached to young single women having their fun, and if one of them ended up pregnant, it was probably something to be celebrated. Fertility was so important to Egyptians that an out-of-wedlock teen pregnancy was a great thing because it meant lots more babies to come. There are no records of brothels in the 3,000 years of ancient Egyptian history. What they did have were sacred prostitutes who worked in temples, and families would offer up their most beautiful daughters for this hugely honorable position. The women would walk around in sheer clothing or naked, happily calling attention to their job. They didn't even get paid, the honor was so great. When they got older, they would leave and go get married with no shame attached to their previous profession at all. The ancient Egyptians were seriously religious. Keeping the gods happy was of the
So they will be, they will become temple harlots. Okay, pretty much get ran through, all type of orgies, and then after that, go get married. Now, doesn't that sound like, today? Eve have 10, 11, 12 hot girl summers. Okay. Then she hit the wall and want to get married. It's the same energy, man. Okay. They said they didn't even have a word for virgin in the Egypt language. And a lot of our laws, you go into the scriptures, a lot of our laws was written based on the culture of Egypt, the captivity we had came out of, man. Okay. Let's get a few of them. Let's see. Let's get let's see. Yeah, let's get Leviticus 21:5. Okay. Let's get because it's Moses, and then Moses, he was a high up, within Egyptian society. He was looked at as, the son, of Pharaoh. All right, pretty much the grandson of Pharaoh. So let's get Deuteronomy 23:17. I'm trying to find as many as I can. Uh, let's get Numbers 19:11. Just trying to find a few. Okay, so let's read, because a lot of these laws were directly against Egyptian culture. So when you go to just the brother G.M.S. Shaw, Lakama, Leviticus 21:5, it says, "They shall not make baldness upon their head, because that was a custom of the Egyptians, their bald ass head, and they did these things in honor of their gods, man." Okay, even the women, which they're finna go into the priestess. Okay, even the women would cut all the hair, the eyebrows off. Okay, neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard, nor make any cuttings in their flesh, the tattoos and all these things. Okay, it was directly against, this Egyptian culture. Okay, the temple harlots. Okay, that's why in Deuteronomy 23:17 it said, "There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel," because these things was going on, all right, in ancient Egypt. Okay, Jake was raised around these customs, seeing these things. Okay, a lot of the law was based on not being a damn Egyptian, man. Okay. You know how, okay, that was from the brother Bayan Yasha'Allah, okay? It's from the brother Amma One. This is Numbers 19:11 says, he that toucheth the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. Okay, and the Egyptians was all about worshiping the dead and mummifying the dead. Okay, but we wasn't supposed to touch the dead. Okay, we will be defiled, we will be unclean. All right, but the Egyptians worship the dead. Okay, so let's let this play some more. And there was just a few, it's some more,
The utmost importance, so the people who served them on a day-to-day basis had lots of power. This included women, since there were plenty of priestesses. While it was typical for female attendants to serve goddesses, this wasn't always the case. Some priestesses served male deities, including the all-important Amun. One woman held the position of God's wife of Amun, a job that in time was seen as equal to the king. Literally anyone who worked in a temple was considered a priest or priestess, so daily life varied drastically depending on whether you were a janitor or a high priestess. Rituals could involve bathing and dressing a statue of a goddess, lighting sacred fires, or cooking food for the deity. Many priestesses worked part-time, just 1 month out of every 4. According to Herodotus, priestesses had to be super clean. They would bathe 4 times a day and shave all the hair off their bodies and heads, including eyebrows and eyelashes in some temples. They also had to practice singing and dancing so they could entertain their goddess. The power some priestesses had is evident in their tombs. National Geographic reported on a tomb discovered in 2017 belonging to Hepet, a priestess of Hathor. According to the magazine, it was, quote, lavishly decorated, including paintings of cheeky monkeys and hunting scenes. While there were a small number of
Look, did you know there was a government-funded education grant that could deposit up to $38,000?
number of women who held the top job in ancient Egyptian history, the vast majority of pharaohs were men, but they all had lots of women in their lives. Ancient History Encyclopedia says each pharaoh would have numerous queens. One of them would be the most important, quote, principal wife. In the early years of ancient Egypt, a queen was expected to run the palace, support her husband, and act as a regent for an underage son. New kingdom queens, however, got their own royal and religious titles, official duties, lands, and income, and a degree of independence. According to Historic Mysteries, queens molded the pharaoh's thinking in matters of state and religion and provided him with strong support. They might act as diplomats, and at least one had her name written in a cartouche, just like a king. Some pharaohs had their wives depicted in statues, occasionally the same size as their own, standing or sitting beside them, which made them appear equal in importance. Nefertiti basically took over running the country for her husband while he concentrated on religion. In addition, the royal line was passed through women, not men, so they were of supreme importance.
You will therefore assume the position of a suppliant before this throne. You will kneel.
Until very recently, it was thought only ancient Egyptian women got tattoos, not men. This is because ancient Egyptian art only showed women with tattoos, plus only female Egyptian mummies were inked. According to groupthink, archaeologists decided these ladies might be, quote, dancing girls or of other dubious status. Even if they found them buried among royalty, they must have been a pharaoh's concubines. Now we know that's not accurate because one of the mummies turned out to be the priestess Amunet. As more tattooed women were connected to the royal court, scholars had to change their theories. Now, it seems tattoos might have been connected to fertility. In general, these tattoos, which were usually patterns of dots, appear on women's stomachs, thighs, and breasts. It seems women ink themselves to honor the goddess of fertility and to give them help.
Hold on, where was those tattoos? Where was those tattoos?
Were connected to the royal court, scholars had to change their theories. Now, it seems tattoos might have been connected to fertility. In general, these tattoos, which were usually patterns of dots, appear on women's stomachs, thighs, and breasts. It seems women ink themselves to honor the goddess of fertility and to give them help conceiving, but also protection during pregnancy and childbirth. The tattoo artists were also exclusively women. Everyone can immediately call to mind what an ancient Egyptian lady looks like. Whether it's the head of Nefertiti or Cleopatra, the distinctive look was hugely important to the average ancient Egyptian woman. According to ancient pages, clothing was considered, quote, one of the most important elements in a person's life. The ancient Egyptians are famous for one look because it stuck around for thousands of years. Women wore a basic, tight, strappy dress that fell to their ankles. In the winter, they would throw a thick linen cloak over their shoulders. Women working in the fields switched to a short skirt and nothing else. The in color for all clothing was white, as much for practical reasons and the heat as anything. Some new fads did come in, including pleated cloth and brightly colored fringe. All women, no matter how poor, wore jewelry. Jewelry was vital to look attractive for the gods, so women covered themselves in beaded necklaces, bracelets, earrings, collar, and rings. Makeup was not only aesthetically pleasing, but was also considered holy. Religion and beauty went hand in hand, so everyone wore makeup. Women did elaborate eye makeup, which might have also been practical, as the thick black kohl would have acted like sunglasses. They also shaved their heads and wore wigs, completing the look. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Sound familiar. It should sound familiar, man. Tattoos on their breasts, their stomach, their thighs. Okay, the fitted dresses. Okay, I'll just go back to Egypt, man. You know, and that's why the Bible says, and read like she reads. The brother put GMS Shar Lakama, in Revelation 11:8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. Okay, Sodom for the sexual lewdness. You know, the video, you know, even just going to the video we did earlier. Okay, then, you know, the West is a mess. All type of madness going on, man. Okay, there's no doubt that this is spiritual Sodom. You know, that goes without, you don't have to pull up a documentary, you know, to know that this is spiritual Sodom. Okay, but it's spiritual Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified, X'd out, you know, because the ways of the Messiah are not exalted here. The ways of Egypt, the ways of paganism, the way of Satanism, okay, is exalted here, man. Okay, that's why when you can let's get let's get that in Joel 3. And we'll end it there. Let's get Joel 3. And all right, Joel chapter 3, verse 19. Yeah, Joel 3 and 19. You know, we'll end it there. No new thing under the sun. Okay, this is spiritual Egypt, you know, which will be destroyed. So the same thing going on, okay, and Yahweh Shema Shai is going to bring about plagues as he did before. Okay, this is Joel 3:19 said, Egypt shall be a desolation, okay, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah. So you see how it links Egypt, okay, with Edom. Then you know that Esau, Edom is the new Pharaoh. See, he ain't got to play dress up like in the movies. You know, he is a new Pharaoh of this spiritual Egypt. Okay, is that Egypt shall be a desolation, speaking of spiritual Egypt, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. Okay, Edom and Egypt. You see, for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. Okay, so it lets you know that Edom will be ruling this spiritual Egypt. Okay, and his rulership will be destroyed. America completely will be destroyed. Okay, now get this, as a brother put it. All right, this brother GMS Spiritual Arc 144, 2nd Ezra 15:10 said, Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. Okay, and if you understand spiritual Egypt, you know exactly what this is talking about. All right, verse 11, it said, But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof, the whole land mass of America, man. Okay? And will destroy all the land thereof. But Egypt, spiritual Egypt, is going to be hit with plagues. Economy crashing, that's a plague. Okay? Food shortages is a plague. Okay? Violence, that's going to be a plague. Pestilence, that's going to be a plague. Ultimately, the missiles is going to be a plague, man. Okay? So, Lord will, you brothers and you few sisters were edified. Just want to bring that out, you know, till next time I say Shalom, Kwam Yashala, Abab, DTA soon, Shalom.